Tuning into today's video, we're going to have a look at the immediate future, which is this evening and overnight into tomorrow morning, first of all for the video. Then we'll go on to the middle of the month. There's some interesting developments for the middle of the month, signs of blocking taking place over Scandinavia, trying to push very cold air towards us for the middle of December, but whether it comes off, it's all a bit uncertain, as it always is with northern and Scandinavian blocking. It's always hard for the models to get the pattern correct, because a little bit of energy from the Atlantic can just force that block back and keep the cold air pinned in up to the northeast. Anyway, we'll look at all the charts in all detail in a moment. Just want to talk about the advertising. There'll usually be a video ad overlaying my weather videos at GavsWeatherBiz.com. Please play those video ads. You'll be supporting GavsWeatherBiz.com by doing that. And I want to mention Gav Shop, and thanks very much for using Gav Shop and clicking on the Amazon banners going through to Amazon.co.uk to buy your Christmas presents. Thanks very much for doing that. Keep doing it. Because you'll keep supporting GavsWeatherBiz.com by doing that, but thank you very much for supporting the website by getting your Christmas shopping through the Amazon banners in Gav Shop. So first of all I want to talk about is the situation tonight. Now I've got a weather system coming down from the north, a weather front moving south across the country tonight. It's actually moving across the north this afternoon, but overnight it'll be moving across England and Wales. And this is the GFS precipitation type forecast from from the Weather Outlook, I should say, weatheroutlook.com for tonight. It's actually 6 o'clock in the morning. This white hatched area here is indicating snow coming south across England and Wales tonight. Now this is showing quite a sort of significant area of snow, really stretching right from Wales through the Midlands in towards East Anglia. If this is right, this is probably giving us covering of snow in quite a number of places overnight tonight and into tomorrow morning. And as we move that on another 6 hours, which takes us to 9 o'clock in the morning, actually we're moving on 3 hours with this. This white hatched area has moved down into the south, so this implies that we've got fairly significant snow affecting even down into southern counties of England, maybe down into London as well through the course of the rush hour tomorrow. Now, I wouldn't say this is necessarily a big dumping of snow, but it's certainly probably going to be enough if this is right to give a covering in places, and it will certainly be enough to affect the traffic through the rush hour tomorrow. So that's what the GFS is predicting, but the high resolution NAE model from the UK Met Office, this is from the website Weather Online, the NAE model isn't really showing anything at all happening overnight tonight, so we've got a very weak system. This pink and light blue hatched area here is the weather front coming south across northern England at midnight. Nothing much really happening, just a little bit of very light snow over the Pennines. As we move through to 6 o'clock in the morning, that has moved southwards, so the front does come southwards, but it's showing it to be a very, very weak system indeed, just producing maybe a few wintry showers, a few snow flurries in the air, a little bit of drizzle as well perhaps, but nothing in comparison to what we see from the GFS model. So a very interesting, quite unusual split there between the GFS model and the Met Office's high resolution NAE model. Which model will be correct? It's impossible for me to predict it, but I'll be keeping an eye on it. If the NAE does move towards the GFS solution for tonight, I'll probably do another video later on actually, because we could see our first proper sort of snowfalls in the south and the southeast overnight tonight. But as I say, the NAE model not really going for it at the moment, and that's the high resolution, so I suppose you have to say that's more likely probably than the GFS. But we'll see anyway later on whether the NAE model starts to move towards the GFS or not. So that's tonight and tomorrow morning done with. Now let's go on to the middle of the month, and we can see from the 500 millibar height anomaly charts what we've got to being predicted here for the middle of the month. This is for 8 to 10 days time. The height anomalies, red colours here indicating above average heights, high pressure. So this is the ECMWF first of all here on the left, going for a big blocking area of high pressure up to the northeast over Scandinavia, stretching well back in towards central parts of Siberia as well. A massive blocking area of high pressure going on there. blocking the flow off the Atlantic and more than likely producing a very cold, bitter cold easterly wind spreading out right across Europe, possibly getting as far as the British Isles as well. JFS is very similar with this, the blocking area of high pressure again indicated by the red colours, massive blocking area of high pressure being forecast there for 8 to 10 days time. So this is taking us towards the middle of December. This will be spreading out very cold air across much of Europe from the east and the northeast. And does that get into the British Isles? Well, let's take a look at what the GFS ensembles say. We can see that we've got a big split in the GFS ensembles. Well, remember, these lines here are individual members of the GFS ensemble. So one line represents one member, and we've got about 20 members of the ensemble here. We see we've got a big split going on. We're going to be cool to cold over the next few days. Once we get through from around the 10th to the 11th, that's when the split starts to take place in the ensemble. Some very cold members of the ensemble as well, some much less cold, and actually quite warmer temperatures going on there with some of those members. So a big split there. It's hard to decipher much from that. And a lot of these warmer members of the ensemble have still got high pressure. So despite the fact that they're warm in the upper atmosphere, they would still, probably a lot of them, be cold at the surface. Well, this is what the GFS operational run, so this is like the highest resolution run of the ensemble is going for. This is the one we see in terms of generic charts. And for the weekend, we've actually got high pressure building in across the country. So we've probably got some reasonably decent upper air temperatures with this, but on the surface it will be cold with a lot of frost and fog likely over the weekend. As we move through in towards the week ahead period, so this is taking us to Tuesday the 11th of December, 8 days out, we're starting to get warm air advection here going up in towards the North Pole as the ridge of high pressure continues to build over the country and starts to slip up towards the northeast. There's the big area of high pressure coming out of Russia, 1055 millibars, a massive Siberian high there. And the GFS then starts to take that high pressure more towards Scandinavia as we move through in towards the latter stages of next week. So this is Thursday the 13th, and notice the ice bars begin to pull round to the east, starting to bring in some proper cold air out of the continent. By the time we get through to Friday the 14th, which is 10 days away, the operational run of the GFS this morning is introducing this very cold east to southeasterly wind across the country, really bitter cold wind that would be. There's the upper air temperatures showing that the cold air is spread out across Europe. Look at the ice bars going right way back towards Russia, so that's the origins of the air spreading out across Europe in towards the British Isles as well, taking bitterly cold air. These are the dew points. Look at this for Friday the 14th of December. Severely cold dew points, freezing cold there across many parts of the British Isles, many parts of Europe. Those cold dew points spreading into the British Isles. Well, if this is right, this is sort of a big freeze type pattern, but I have to emphasise there's a lot of scatter with the GFS ensemble, so this isn't necessarily how things pan out. It's too far away and too much uncertainty to say this is definitely right, but it's certainly an interesting sort of trend in the GFS this morning. The ECMWF has high pressure over the country over the weekend, so again I think we are looking at quite a frosty, foggy sort of weekend. Could be a lot of fog around perhaps over the weekend, although fog is always quite difficult to forecast now since the Clean Air Act. Incidentally, it's 60 years since the that terrible smog that occurred in 1952 killed many people, and since then of course we have the Clean Air Act implemented, and that's why we don't get anywhere near as much fog now. In high pressure scenarios in the winter we don't get as much fog as we used to, because the Clean Air Act has really cleaned up the air, so we don't get that dangerous sort of smoggy, foggy type conditions that we used to get. But anyway, it's 60 years since the onset of the Great Smog of December 1952. Now as we go beyond this in towards Tuesday the 11th, again we've got that high pressure showing signs of ridging up to the north, ridging up towards Scandinavia. We're bringing the Siberian high out of Russia as we move through in towards the latter stages of next week. So this is again, it's 10 days away, the 14th of December. We are pulling the winds around into the east, maybe not with as much conviction as we do on the operational run of the GFS, but nevertheless the winds are going into the east and we're bringing out that very cold air from central and eastern parts of Europe. And for the GEM, the Canadian, again, very similar trends. For a week's time, we've got that high pressure building to the north, pulling the winds into the east. Going beyond this, then we set up this easterly flow across the country. Though we've got more of a ridge of high pressure actually over the top of the British Isles at 10 days out. But it's the same sort of idea, and of course, as I've explained before, once we get to the 8 to 10 day period, we can't really use the charts for exact detail. It's the trends we're looking for, and the trend really across the three big models, the GFS, the GEM and the ECM, is all to start to build high pressure to the east and to the northeast, and try to pull the winds round to the east. Now we've seen this trying to build up for the first bit of December, actually back in the last stages of November. We saw a very similar trend. It didn't come off. So it's too far away to say this is certainly how things are panning out. We've got to keep an eye on it, see how it develops, see if the models go this more. Remember, the GFS ensembles are very split about it. Not all of them bring in very cold air from the east. So we're going to keep an eye on it. I'll keep you updated, but certainly interesting trends for the middle of the month. That's it for now. Thanks for watching.